Hello everyone, it is me Rio Bebo here, and today I'm going to be going over the games that I am playing as of now. And I do apologize for not making a video in the past month. I've really been busy, but now I do have free time and now I can actually, go back to gaming. And there's no better way to make a video about my, I guess you could say, return to gaming than just talking about the games I'm playing right now. And with that out of the way, let's start the video. Now, the game that I'm actually playing the most right now is Shadow Hearts from the New World, which is in a way a sequel to Shadow Hearts Covenant, yet at the same time kind of a spin-off. It stars a completely different cast, a completely different main character, and in turn the storyline is sort of has a different tone. And a lot of people didn't really like From the New World, but I actually enjoyed this game a whole ton. Now, one big gripe people had about From the New World was the fact that the main character is completely different, and the cast is also, I didn't feel it was that different, but people thought the cast was rather weak. And even though, since in the second game and the first game, you get to start some guy named Yuri, who's just this badass guy who could transform into multiple demons. But in From the New World, you actually get to play as this 16-year-old detective named Johnny, and you could really, it does feel like a downgrade. But in a way, I feel it's sort of like how people compare Solid Snake to Raiden. And while Solid Snake is obviously the much cooler character, Raiden in the end is not really that bad of a character. He's actually a really enjoyable character. He's just much outshadowed by Solid Snake. And I feel the same way about Johnny. I think he's a very good main character. He just does not nearly compare to Yuri. But the cast so far I really enjoyed actually. I thought they were really funny. And that also brings into another problem. People thought Shadow Hearts from the New World was a lot more of a jokes kind of story. It didn't take itself as seriously as Covenant. And while I could say that there are more jokes in From the New World, I don't think that's sort of like a joke story. I do think the developers took the story seriously, and there are some pretty dark parts in the game. And I mean, Covenant also has fair share of jokes. I mean, it didn't take itself seriously all the time. And From the New World is sort of in the same vein. It didn't really take itself seriously all the time. But I do admit there are more jokes in From the New World, and it does make the story seem a bit less serious. But really, my big gripe of the game is just the fact that it's way too similar to Covenant. They didn't really fix some simple parts, like for Covenant I thought some of the towns were rather small, something that From the New World could really improve by, increasing the size of each town. And also I didn't like the fact that there are no inns in any of the towns. So there's no way to, quickly heal yourself unless you go all the way back to New York. I mean, it's not as bad of a process as I make it seem, but it does become rather annoying. And also, it feels like, in a way, almost copy and paste a few things. I mean, the storyline also kind of follows the same kind of format of just this mysterious thing is happening. Let's just try following this guy until we finally learn what it is. And that is kind of disappointing, but I still found the combat system a lot of fun. The graphics are rather nice. The storyline, I'm still pretty interested in it, and I think it's actually, I don't think it's as good as Covenant. So far, I have not beat the game. Just to note, I've only played around, I guess you could say, a quarter of it. So again, my judgments can be completely false. The game could do a 180 halfway, I'm not exactly sure, but the game does, it's even though storyline's just not as good, it's still paced better than Covenant in my opinion, so far. But overall, I enjoyed this game a whole ton. It may not be as good as Covenant, but it's still just a really great game. Now, another game I've been playing a lot of is Sly 2: Band of Thieves, and kind of recently I've been getting this sort of platformer kick. I mean, again, then my schedule sort of just impeded that kick, and now I'm not really, into playing as many platformers as I wanted to, but I still sort of have it. I still have that power, that passion deep down, and and so far, the first game I played was Sly 1, and I had a blast with it. It was very reminiscent of the Crash Bandicoot series, and I just loved it. And Sly 2, even though it's rather different from Sly 1, is still a lot of fun. I think it's actually better than the first Sly game. And to be honest, I owned both these games when I was much younger, but I never really, got into it. It didn't really appeal to me, but now I'm having a whole ton of fun with both of them, and I don't know if it's because my gaming tastes have changed, but definitely I'm having just, so much fun. I love Sly 2's open world nature. It plays in a way like Grand Theft Auto mixed with Metal Gear Solid, combined with some really solid platforming, and I love Metal Gear Solid, I love platforming, and I love open world games, and it creates a game that's just a whole ton of fun. I actually like the storyline in this game a lot as well. It's not as good as, let's say, or high quality as Ratchet and Clank or the Jak series, but I still enjoy the story for what it is. Just very entertaining. I love the gameplay style. I love the music in this game. I love the art style as well. At first, I never really liked it as a kid, but I really can appreciate it now. And so far, I can't wait to play the third game or even the fourth game out on the PS3. So, Sly 2, highly recommended. I really regret not really getting into this when I was younger. I mean, I'm surprised I missed out on so much. Definitely a great platformer series. Now, the last game I'm playing as of now is Final Fantasy VII. And Final Fantasy VII has always been like an odd game for me because I have almost all the Final Fantasy games. Final Fantasy VII is arguably the hardest one for me to get into. And the reason why isn't necessarily because of the game itself, but more so in the way I expected the game to turn out. Now, as you know, some Final Fantasy VII lovers describe this game as this godly game that's pure in form, it's a masterpiece that anyone can get into, and I honestly thought the game would kind of be like that. I mean, granted, I sort of had some realistic expectations knowing that it's an early PS1 game. Oh, just so you know, I have not played Final Fantasy VII during the PS1 era. I actually owned a Nintendo 64 during that time. I only bought Final Fantasy VII when it released on PSN. I just wanted to make that clear. So I didn't get to play the game till much later. So, for years and years of just built up by these fans, I was really kind of expecting that stuff, even though I did have some realistic expectations, but still, I was still expecting this game to be, rather amazing and timeless. And unfortunately, some parts of the game have not aged rather well. I found navigation to be rather awkward. I did not know which places I could enter or exit unless I pressed the select button. I found some parts of the storyline were kind of vague in the fact that I did not know where to go next. I also found that, some weird translation errors, sort of hindered the, storytelling experience for me. And also the fact that this game, is not as good looking as people make it seem. Some people make this seem as if it's like the best looking PS1 game, when in reality, it's not a bad looking game, but it definitely does show its age. But still, there are a lot of positive aspects to the game as well. I enjoy the game's combat system. I think the materia system is fantastic. I do love the world that Square presents to us, this cyberpunk world. I absolutely love cyberpunk, and the game does a great job in showing that. And the storyline can be rather interesting. I've not gotten too far into it, but it does seem to get rather interesting. And the music is just awesome. Like every single Final Fantasy game, just the music is so great. Some of the characters are great as well. Some of them are a bit weird, but I really enjoy the cast so far. Granted, when I first played it on the PS3, I never really got past the beginning parts. Same with my second playthrough, same with my third playthrough. I never really got past into the overworld. I decided to download it on my PSP instead, and I'm, for some reason, having more fun with the game. Maybe it's because the fact that my expectations are not as high, or maybe the fact that the PSP just helps make the game better. I really don't know, but I'm getting to this game more so than I did before. And hopefully I will beat this game. I've heard so many great things about this game, and the game is great. I really don't want to knock Final Fantasy VII. I understand why so many people love it. It's a very nostalgic game for them. Same with me for Final Fantasy X. I know Final Fantasy X has a ton of problems that people complain about, such as its linearity, main character, and for me it doesn't bother me as much because it's a very nostalgic game for me. And I understand that's the same thing for Final Fantasy VII. I mean, granted, I know some people who played Final Fantasy VII recently and loved it. That's absolutely fine. I think this game is great as well. And, it really does come to show, that expectations do, in a way, make a game. So, if you have reasonable expectations and not crazy expectations like I have, Final Fantasy VII is a great RPG to play. And for only $10, I highly recommend you download it on the PSN. Now, those are all the games I'm really playing as of now, but I do have so many more games I really want to beat after I'm done with those. Such as Ape Escape 3. I mean, I've loved the first game, I've loved the second game, and the third game, but I just have not, for the longest time, have not beaten the third game, which is a real shame. I should go back to this game and finally finish it once and for all. I've also wanted to beat both Xenoblade Chronicles and Skyward Sword. I mean, I'm actually 80% done with both of these games, and for some reason, just other games have just distracted me from playing these two games, and I definitely should go back, muster up that courage, and finally beat both of these games. I've also always wanted to play Okami. I mean, I've owned this game for almost a year and I have not even played it yet, which should be a shame in the gaming world actually. I mean, so many people consider this game a classic, and the fact that I have not even started it yet after owning it for so long is just a huge shame on my part, and I definitely should play this game soon. Lastly, I've always wanted to get to the Xenosaga trilogy, and the reason why I never really started it was because I heard the second game was kind of weak and the fact that the game had a lot of cutscenes, so I didn't really want to invest so much time into one trilogy. But, I decided, if I really enjoy the first one, I mean, the other games should not really be that much of a chore to me, and I really do want to play this game as soon as possible. I mean, I've heard such great things about it. Also really want to play Xenogears. I mean, people just absolutely love this game. They consider Xenogears to be one of the best PS1 games of all time, if not the greatest PS1 game, if not the greatest RPG of all time. And just the fact that it's $10 on the PSN store right now really means I should probably download it as soon as possible and start to play it. And that's it for today. If you enjoyed my video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help me out a lot. And if you're new to my channel and enjoyed this video, please subscribe. It really does mean a lot to me. And as always, I'm RealBebel, guys, and peace out.